In A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones, Tyrion is one of the most interesting characters. Are there any Song of Ice and Fire? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Alt Shift X. Nice.
Wow.
That's good. Like that.
But what makes Tyrion such a grey character? That's what we're going to talk about on this panel. It's not quite 1 o'clock yet. I'm a stickler for the rules.
Well, let some people actually show up, and there's probably like people
There's always
Someone drinking. They're drinking somewhere. This is what Tyrion
smoking
does.
as well.
Yes.
slackards.
Slacker.
Smoking and drinking. You
I've
know
never
things.
heard the term slackered before.
It's probably made up. But
No, it sounds like one of those words that George would make up.
Yeah, it sounds like something George would make up.
Bloody-minded slackard.
Slackards.
Full of slackards and thieves they are. Anyway.
what's wrong with that?
Nothing. I'm sorry, dear. I mean, well, stealing is morally wrong, but there's nothing wrong with being a slackard. Or made a good living off of being a slackard.
That was my whole last summer.
All right, so I think we could get started now. Why don't we go around the table and introduce ourselves? I'm Steve Love, and I talk about this stuff because I have a YouTube channel, and I'm a comedian and actor. I try to be funny and stuff. Also, I'm a book nerd, so just beware.
I'm Phil the Issues Guy. I think I've bumped into most of you out there, and if I haven't, hey, I got a YouTube channel and a podcast if anyone wants to check that out and get annoyed by my silliness. But really do appreciate all of you guys that came here, especially you, Eli. You're beautiful.
Good job, Eli.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. And
You're crushing it.
thanks to everybody. It's good to be on a panel with you guys.
Okay, so I'm Joanna Lannister. I write essays on Tumblr at joannalannister.tumblr.com. And I run A Song of Ice and Fire University on Tumblr. So, yeah, I'm mostly on Tumblr. And whenever anybody asks me something outside of Tumblr, I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's good to know that there are other people out there doing stuff for A Song of Ice and Fire.
I'm Dame Pasty from WatchersOnTheWall.com. I also have a YouTube channel. I do recap videos, although it's been a while since I've done one. I contribute to WatchersOnTheWall.com. I'm also a vendor here with my company, Designed to a T, so some of you may have seen me in the marketplace this week.
Pet my dog.
So, yeah, and I petted your dog.
Yeah, you pet my dog, yeah.
I'm canine friendly. And it's Dame Pasty, not pasty as an Englishman, but pasty as in a meat pie, okay? So just let's keep it straight. Okay.
All right, well, we're here to talk about Tyrion Lannister, pretty much the most universally beloved character in Game of Thrones. I mean, pretty much every other character who is considered a fan favorite has some degree of, there's some bit of a debate over the merits of their character, but pretty much everyone loves Tyrion, even though he's done some shady things in his past. He now finds himself as hand of the queen to a queen who is who's got a lady boner for a young Lord of Winterfell. And well, let's look at it from the perspective of the title of this panel, Tyrion the Grey. Not because he is a wizard, but because
He will one day be Tyrion the White.
fly, you fools. That's what I thought of when he was like looking over the battle at Jaime, and he's like, "Get out of there, you idiot! Get out of there, you idiot!" All I could think of was Gandalf, like, "Fly, you fools!" That was necessary. That was necessary.
It is needed.
Thank you. But yeah, it's called Tyrion the Grey because, like a lot of George Martin characters, he is neither a black nor white character. There are aspects of good and evil that he inhabits and that he exhibits. So we're just going to talk about, like, what is Tyrion really? What's he really like? Is he a good character? Do you think he is mostly good?
Yeah, raise your hand if you think Tyrion's a mostly good character in this universe. Raise your hand if you think he is. That's a good point.
That is the main difference in this panel. I
think
think
we can finish this panel now. That's our whole point, you know.
Don't tell them that.
He said in the show or the book.
Right. My issue with Tyrion as a character in the show is that he's no longer there's no they've sort of stripped all the complexities of his character and just made him a voice of morality for Daenerys when she decides to go on a burning spree.
Yeah. They've taken away some of his edge, some of what I think did make him gray, and some of the stuff you see more in the first couple of seasons where he's running that line. In his situation with Daenerys, I still like Tyrion. I like his dialogue. I enjoy watching him back and forth with Varys, even if the lines can be kind of predictable and repetitive. But I like him challenging that aspect. Like, someone you like, Peter Dinklage is so charming if we're talking about show Tyrion, and I think Tyrion on paper is very charming as well. But it's dealing with it inside yourself, how you feel about the things that Tyrion does when you like him so much. And I feel like we missed a little bit because his story, essentially on the show, ended when Tywin ended. And they haven't really, aside from the Daenerys stuff, which I just don't think has the same bite for his character. And so I feel like...
Well, is Tyrion even in a position to be a moral authority for Daenerys when he murdered Shay? Because I feel like the show didn't really deal with that very much. Martin certainly dealt with that quite a lot in A Dance with Dragons, but I don't feel like... I don't feel like the show has dealt with that at all, so that's why it's strange to me that Tyrion is in this position of kind of moral authority for Daenerys. So,
no, I agree. I think that's where they didn't do his character justice, because they just sort of abandoned him, and then because people like his lines and people are entertained by his comedic one-liners, they just put him in that position. And because Peter Dinklage is so damn likable.
But his character becomes so shallow.
It does. I agree with you 100%. It does become shallow, and I think that's the disappointment of season 5, 6, and 7 Tyrion, is that he's become a shallow character.
Season 5, episode 1, he gets off the boat, he pukes, and that's about the end of the guilt and trauma he has from the end of the previous season. And they don't really go back to it except when he talks to Daenerys for the first time and talks about why he killed his father. And I'm not going to tell you unless we have a lot more wine. And we could go on and on about the creative choices of the writers, but I think we'd just be, sort of circle jerking each other at that point.
Well, we talked about this in other panels as well. A lot of the characters, and Tyrion also has a serious case of PTSD, not only from what's happened to them, but what they've done themselves. Right, and the guilt and the baggage, the emotional baggage they carry around, and we do seriously miss that in the show. And I think the one homage to that, to Dany thinking about the grayness of Tyrion, was that conversation, like you said, was very brief, and he said, we're children of two terrible fathers, and she just oh yeah, I agree, okay, moving on.
Yeah, you're all right now.
We're buds, I get it, and it's there's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah, it's not like she's ever burned anybody.
Yeah.
She's great. She's great.
Crucified.
Whatever she does is great. Woo, go Dany.
Poor Dickon.
Yeah, poor
Dick on. I'm sorry.
Burnt Dick on.
Yeah.
Why don't we just yeah.
Also, by them in the show, by having Shay pick up a knife, which he doesn't do in the book, they
Right.
make his murder of her self-defense, not murder.
Yeah.
It really takes away a lot of
The edge of
Yes.
it.
Very good point.
Yeah.
A lot of what Tyrion. Yes, go ahead.
But is that really self-defense though? Like, he could have. Self-defense to me is this is your only option. Whereas he could have just gone back down the ladder, and I really don't think she would have followed him to chase him with that knife. I think that Shay picked up the knife for her own self-defense rather than.
She saw the look in his eye in that moment where he was.
Yeah, I think she was in self-preservation mode, and she would have screamed, she would have alerted him. I don't think he had the option of just going down the ladder. I think she really would have at that point. She'd already slept with Tywin, right? So
For a while, yeah.
Yeah, she's in self-preservation mode. She's a prostitute who's been on her own for a long time, and I really don't think. I mean, I'm sure she loved Tyrion, but I think she would have alerted them, and he would have been screwed. Yeah. So in a sense, I think he kind of did have to shut her up.
Okay.
So. I don't know. I'm torn, as most of us are in that scene, right? It's a horrible scene.
And again, it's because you want, at least for me, I want to like Tyrion, so I want to make excuses for him where it just comes down. No, he murdered somebody, and once he saw that, there was no getting away from him having to do that. And what you guys were saying was so right. The problem is we never felt that afterwards. After he killed Tywin on the show, they yada him feeling and going. It should have been a whole season of him going through that and doing nothing but drinking. Instead, it's a scene where he pukes, and then he's with Jorah on the happy adventure with Jorah the Explorer, and they go and they see the Daenerys in the bar, the fake Daenerys. Oh, you'd like to do her, wouldn't you? Ha ha ha! You know, it becomes very tongue in cheek, and everything with him from this point on, he's the comic relief on the show, and I think that's a disappointment because he's such a multi-layered character.
Well, I think, Tyrion used to be, when we first met him, he was this rambunctious guy sleeping with all these ladies and stuff. And since then, the biggest part of his character that's been removed is, after his adventures with Shay, he's completely shut off in that regard.
Yeah.
And, the last scene we see him,
That's a good point.
people romantically involved. And, obviously he doesn't know, incest is happening, but he's just looking on. And he has that look of worry that, everyone has kind of looked into. And that may be kind of part of him, being wary of relationships. And that might be his way of dealing with what happened with Shay.
Now, for book
he's
nerds,
grown up a little.
yeah, well, that's true. But for book nerds, didn't he not also have the same problem in the book? Like
No.
to
So when he
Warren-
gets to Pentos, Illyrio sends a whore to his bed, and the whore, he notices the look of disgust on the whore's face, but
Right,
he
I remember
takes
that.
her anyway.
Okay.
So
it is
Tyrion,
different.
another gray
that's-
moment for Tyrion, let's say,
Yeah.
and.
That in Volantis.
Yeah, no, that's the whole reason he gets captured by Jorah is because he got drunk and went to a brothel.
Right.
Maybe he's just seeing disgust on her face because that's how
He feels himself.
Yeah.
it wasn't there.
It's projection.
Yeah.
Regardless of how anybody looks at him, he is seeing revulsion and disgust, and it doesn't matter what they're actually.
Projecting. He's projecting. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that I made this point earlier in one of the other panels, but also the issue between the books and the show is in the books, Shay is not a sympathetic character.
Not at all.
I say in the show,
I don't know. I kind of feel sympathy for Shay. I mean, maybe
Shay?
nobody for Shay
Okay.
in the book.
Well,
Well,
she's
by
just,
definition,
she didn't deserve to die, but she's just sort of, I'm a whore. You give me gold, I'll be I'm yours.
Yeah, but she's like a kid. She's not that old in the book. She's doing the best that she can. I mean, and when you're born into that kind of environment, and so Tyrion's just a John to her. Like she doesn't owe him anything beyond what he pays her for. So
I think the point is that in the show, Shay genuinely loved Tyrion versus Book Shay did not.
Right,
yes,
yeah,
yes, okay, yeah.
Sky
Oh, sorry. Wait, I'll go.
I got you. You actually feel bad because in the show it felt like genuine love.
You first, now.
Oh, we were literally just talking about this upstairs, but like the difference between book and show Tyrion, and I think it's almost like a fault of how good of an actor Peter Dinklage is.
And how likable he is.
Is that, like we were talking, I always looked at Peter Dinklage's Tyrion as he's just so damn charming.
Yeah.
And the whole linchpin of Tyrion's character development is he knows what he looks like, and he's overtly grotesque in the books, but also after Tysha, he doesn't know whether or not anyone really likes him for him, and then that's why he does all these debaucherous things. But then once he has to kill Shay, and he gets to Essos, I think the reason that he notices the revulsion and he notices that is because he's like, "Fuck it, the veil's lifted. I know."
He was under the impression his whole life that Tysha was just a whore. But then Jaime reveals
Then when
to him that
Jaime reveals
Tysha was genuine. And then when he asks Tywin what happened to Tysha, he's like, "Where did she go?" He says, "Wherever whores go," and that keeps repeating itself throughout.
And he keeps repeating it over and over in his head through that whole situation.
Like he had another portion of character development to go to in the books, but he doesn't.
But he never on the shows. And to go to your point, Dinklage is just so damn charming.
Oh, he's like the Brad Pitt of
I
dwarves,
joke
too.
about it. There's that whole section of the television show Nip Tuck, if anyone ever saw it, where basically he's just like taking the other guy's wife away from him. And I joke a lot to my wife. I would just let Peter Dinklage have you. I couldn't say no to him. He's just so charming. Hi, can I have your wife? Of course you're gonna have my wife. Take her.
take her, please.
Yeah. It's just. But in Tyrion in the books, as everyone knows, mismatched eyes. I think in some ways they didn't do the Blackwater accident to him with the nose because they didn't want to make Peter Dinklage look. Yeah, they can't. He does. It just adds. It adds character.
Manly. It's manly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, would you also want to like limit Peter Dinklage's acting with his
And
face
again,
if you
his
put a
acting- no,
prosthetic or
you-
something on
You would
that?
not want to do that either, and it's.
With the eyes, and if you like cover that up or something with a prosthetic,
So
it
to
wouldn't
your
work
point
well.
overall, and what she was saying as well, is Dinklage too good for Tyrion the character? And is that why we didn't get it? Because he's just too good looking?
I think Dinklage is a great actor and he's great for the role. He's perfect for the role. I think physically they could have gone with like Warwick Davis and
Yeah.
gotten like a more I don't know,
Accurate
a more
record-
like.
But he's too
representation.
old.
Yes.
He is too old. He is too old.
Yes.
Tyrion's supposed to be even younger than Peter Dinklage.
And have blonde hair.
Yeah, he's a kid.
What happened to the blonde hair?
Yeah, I think that's something else that we're deprived
He's
of in the show that we get so beautifully in the books is this contrasting character arcs between Jaime and Tyrion. Like Jaime starts out as the villain Lannister. Oh my God, this guy needs to die. And
Hey.
then we slowly warm up to him.
No, yes.
And you know, he does all these things that are suggesting this redemption arc, and then Tyrion, it's like he wins our hearts, and then it's this downward spiral.
Right,
It's like,
because
how
in the
far can he go before we
the
lose
first
him?
book is Tyrion being a victim of external circumstances. He's kidnapped he's wealthy and he's from a great family, but he's stripped of his power very early on. He's kidnapped and he's forced to fight in a battle where his father basically expects him to die. And then in the second book, we see Tyrion with his power, and he does good things, but he also does some fucked up things. Like what was the name of the singer? I don't remember the name. Simon Silvertongue writes a song about him and Shay because he knows about Shay. So Tyrion has him killed and then cooked into a bowl of brown. Into the pot chops of Flea Bottom.
Why'd I block that out?
Yeah, so there's another gray moment for book Tyrion.
Thanks.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's me. Yes.
Simon Silvertongue in particular, Tyrion says, like, I learned my lesson. I should have killed myself, and I didn't. And I think he gives like 2 or 3 other examples. So it's like I don't feel like you really get that in the show either.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's not pragmatic in terms of when it's okay to kill someone or when you have to.
And I just want to be clear that we're bashing a lot of show Tyrion, but it's not to say that, again, Dinklage gives a great performance. He's effective. They just miss a lot of the weight that Tyrion gets in the books to define his character. And it's something that they could have done. Dinklage, I think, could have pulled that stuff off, and I think it's a disappointment that they didn't, but he still creates interesting choices in the character. I don't want to use this as, the hell with the show Tyrion, but they just could have added so much more weight to it, and it's a disappointment, because Dinklage can handle that stuff as an actor.
I think the only times that we see them actually attempt to address this, the murders of Tyrion and Shay, is when Tyrion then gets brought back to King's Landing and has to interact with his siblings.
Yeah.
The conversation that in the show he has with Jaime
And with Cersei. That was one of the best
That's where you
scenes.
see not just the political, because there's massive political implications from Tywin's murder, but also the emotional.
There was
siblings.
one line that Dinklage said there where he goes, "You didn't think that hurt me, Cersei?" And he gets like emotional, and you feel it. And it was almost, again, a level of disappointment and wasted talent moment. You see where they could have done that if they expanded on that more. Him playing that, I just destroyed my family, because he knows he's smart enough to know what killing Tywin would do to Jaime and Cersei. And what she's saying to him when you don't realize you left us naked on a hill with all of our enemies coming, he knows that, but he also knows in his heart whether he feels he made a mistake or not, he, in that moment, felt like he needed to do that for Tywin for his own safety.
He's trying to justify his
Yep.
behavior, but
Always
clearly not
justifying.
over it.
Yep.
They're showing him as not healed.
Well, I mean, that's probably what makes him so perfect for where he is now, because he's been through so much, and he's had to make so many decisions in his life, and you watch him do all this, and you watch him struggle with it constantly. That's why he's perfect for Daenerys, because he's constantly deciding what's right and wrong, and that's where the world is going. So.
I think that's where it's going in the show, but to piggyback on what you said, and the man in the red who brought up Taisha, it's like I think the first line. I think like the first line you get in Dance in the POV for Tyrion is like Tyrion drank his way across the
Yep.
Sea. That's a totally different weight to the trauma of
Being in a
Taisha.
box, like rolling around in a box,
As
whatever.
opposed to in the show, like, oh, like I drank too much, and I'm gonna hurl.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
And here's Varys to walk you through and guide you. And Varys, and we're skipping over that part, but Varys doesn't come in the books, right? It's just, Varys stays. So
They replaced the character of Illyrio with
Varys
Varys.
in that situation. So Varys has an already connection with Tyrion, so he kind of is there to take care of him too, and keep feeding him alcohol or whatever. So I feel like that also added to it as well. Thank you.
I mean, he didn't speak the language, man.
No, he didn't.
Right, who's very isolated.
Where you have like the shape-shifting Varys that can like communicate with anyone as your guide through the new land.
Yeah, I wanted to say somebody was talking about the comparison and contrasting with Jaime's journey. They're both anti-heroes, right? But they go through the stages of an anti-hero in different order, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed? So like you said, like Jaime, he's horrible and then he gets better, but whereas Tyrion is okay and then he gets worse,
Well, yeah, and
right?
it's
So
a little
their
bit of
arc is different.
Manipulation of the audience too, the
Yeah.
reader
Mhm.
on George R. R. Martin's part
Mhm.
too, because like Tyrion wins our compassion through his backstory and through the way he's treated,
Mhm.
and Jaime just we don't hear that until later. So
Right.
I just think it's interesting how the reader interacts with these two
Mhm.
different character arcs, even though they're very similar, but they do go in different order, like you said.
Yeah, that's on purpose. I think George did that very
Well,
smartly. Yeah.
Can I just say one thing? I'm not really sure. I guess I'm not on board. I think that you and I disagree a little bit because I don't think, at least in the books, it's different in the show, that Jaime continues to work for a corrupt regime, whereas Tyrion has put himself at odds against the corrupt Lannister regime. So obviously in the show we see that Jaime has separated from the Lannister regime and he's going north, so it's a little bit different. But in the books we haven't gotten that yet, so I would still say that we're still kind of dealing with, I would say that both the Lannister brothers are still not in the area where one can be said to be good while the other one is bad, I guess.
No, it's just the path that they take is different and opposite. And like she said, that Jaime starts out as just horrible, and then his backstory is revealed and we gain sympathy. Whereas Tyrion, you have sympathy at the beginning, and then he starts doing horrible things, and you're like, oh, do I still have sympathy for him? So it is a reverse storyline there. But they're both anti-heroes, and they're both going through those similar stages of an anti-hero, but simply in a different order, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I think they both embrace the whole, like, Jaime embraces being called Kingslayer and has more time to deal with that, whereas Tyrion is just now kind of embracing all these really serious events of, yes, I am the monster you think I am. Like, he flat out lies to Jaime and says, yeah, I killed Joffrey, when in reality he didn't.
Right.
I definitely agree with the Tyrion part of what you said. I think Jaime never is okay with being called Kingslayer. I think he emotionally is more fragile than Tyrion is when it comes down to it. Where Tyrion has had enough time to build that shell around him to be able to or build the energy shield, or to drag the energy in and push it back out. Whereas Jaime just wants to be loved. I think he just wants people to love him and think he's this hero and think he's all these things. And I think in his mind, he's constantly in that struggle. At least my perspective of Jaime.
Jaime's bitter, right? Because he wanted to be the shining knight, and
Why don't people think about me like that?
no matter how hard he tries, he still doesn't have anything on
That's
his
what I love
page,
about
right?
him.
Whereas Tyrion, from birth, he's the outsider, right? He's the oddity, and so from the get-go, Tyrion's like, "This is who I am. I'm a broken thing. I'm a bastard."
He tells him, like he tells Jon Snow, like take what the weakest thing someone can construe about you and make it your armor.
Right.
He says those things, but he doesn't always take his own advice.
Yeah,
with
that's
them.
an excellent point, yeah.
Also
Well, that's-
to be loved and accepted.
that's
He's doing his thing.
That's human nature, though, right? That's why we love him, because we get that. But I'm sorry, but we
I love the Lannisters.
I was gonna say, like, Tyrion never had an opportunity to be anything else because of his physical deformities.
Right.
Jaime thinks to himself in the same way that, like, a character from books like Bittersteel thinks that he could have been everything that he wanted to be, but instead people revile him for the he
For him
said,
saving a million people's lives or
he
something.
said
Yeah.
that, like, people hate me the most for the best thing.
Yeah, for the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he had the chance to be something else, but was not able to accept.
Right.
Well, if I can shift gears for a second, I think an interesting thing. I'm not sure if you brought it up. Were you on the panel about the characters, the fan favorites?
Yes.
Penny.
Oh yes. Yeah, I dig from Penny up. Yeah.
That is an interesting. That's an interesting plot point for Tyrion's character in the books. Are there any non-book readers here? So Penny is a dwarf girl who is in a sort of mummer's troupe. They're like the jousting knights that Joffrey gets.
Yeah,
for
that
the
perform
wedding.
at Joffrey's wedding ceremony. You see,
Yeah.
that's the closest you get to them in the show. You get to see
Yeah.
the group essentially.
But in the show, Penny and Tyrion end up being slaves together.
In the book.
In the book. Sorry, what am I saying?
I confused you.
Yeah.
Blame me.
And they develop this relationship where Penny is attracted to him sexually, and he's not. But he still cares for her and looks after her and takes care of her when she inevitably makes decisions that could get her killed. So what's the I don't know why I brought this up, because I think it's like a choice that HBO or the writers decided. Let's not do this storyline. Let's just fast forward to when Tyrion has a heart again and has a will to live again. What do you think?
I don't know why. I mean, I think, did they not get the casting right? Did they not think about that from that end? Do they want to just quickly? To me, it all comes down to, and I don't want to use this as an opportunity because I love television. I love television, and I love the show. But I do think in these last couple of seasons, since season 5, they've been in a hurry. This is a big hurry, and they want to get Tyrion with Daenerys. It's where can we get Tyrion to the next big star so we can combine our stars and start, again, I said this before, me together like Voltron, and get everything together to make something cool. And I just think, and I think the show is great. It should have been 15 seasons, 20 seasons, and they should have taken their time with everything, even if they only had George's outline, and really and if they're going to take these 2 years, not do it with just for special effects and stuff like that. Do it for getting the scripts right, getting talented people that are passionate about the project to work off these notes and get George to write scripts if he's not writing anything else. But whatever. I think the omission of Penny had to do with we got to get her. Oh, we can't do that. We could do that, or we could get her with Daenerys.
Well, I could have sworn I read somewhere in an interview with Benioff and Weiss that there was a discussion with Dinklage about the Penny storyline, and he wanted nothing to do with it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Don't.
Someone fact check. Feel free to comment away on the. You can comment on my channel. Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I could have.
I'll take responsibility. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna just go with it. That's truth. I'm telling you, that's the facts right now.
Well, he did himself a disservice with that because in the book, she really does help him to develop his character.
Everything we were
Right.
talking about. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Excellent point to bring
Really
up.
is just kind of a vehicle for his storyline, whereas in the show,
And
you can't
I-
have his story in Daenerys' storyline.
I think her.
Yeah, I mean, they
Right.
sacrificed all the other characters.
I think her purpose. I think Penny's main purpose is for him to realize, if I had not been born a Lannister,
how bad it could
how
have been.
much
right?
shitten would my life be? That's what
That's-
Tyrion thinks when he sees.
I think
Penny.
that's why that was so painful, though, because I think with Peter Dinklage's disability, then that's what the A Dance with Dragons storyline really is. That they're really like highlighting how horrible all of this is, and it's kind of like rubbing your face in all of how terrible this is, and like so. I don't know. I think personally, maybe that would have been hard for Peter Dinklage to have to deal with.
I imagine the casting is also, if you
Yeah.
use a child who's
Yeah.
a dwarf would have been a huge
Yeah.
challenge. to take
And then
lead
has that
into
acting range that she would need to have,
Yeah.
right? And very adult situations too.
And
Yeah,
like,
it's tough emotionally.
and who knows like how much worse that's going to get in the Winds of Winter. I mean, whatever they've been told, whatever David and Dan have been told about what's going to happen to Penny in the Winds of Winter, do we really want that? I don't know.
We don't know. Yeah.
I think in the book, Penny is the same for Tyrion as Brienne is for Jaime.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good parallel.
Brings the humanity back, wakes that back up in him. And, you know, he was going down and killed Shay, killed his father, and that made him save Jorah, bring him in, and it just
And
brought
it really did, and I completely understand what you're saying. And if you think about it from a more realistic standpoint and look down on it, you could see why it might have been hard and why Dinklage might have made that decision. But I agree with you that it betrays his character in the sense that if they didn't want to do anything, everything else we were talking about, his journey that he goes through, if they wanted to speed it up too, you could do that with a single character in a 2 or 3 episode arc. You wouldn't have to have mined into it so much, but you could have had something. But again, I understand the wider angle perspective of why Dinklage might have done that. But me, as a selfish fan of entertainment, I just want it my way, and I want it to be as good. But I totally get that. I totally get that's valid.
I agree, and I think that George writes a lot of those parallels in his work, a lot of juxtapositions and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a great point.
You, sir.
I think it kind of goes the difference between television versus writing. I mean, as you kind of point out, Peter Dinklage is a very likable character. So perhaps both he and the showrunners felt there wasn't quite the need to kind of humanize him to make him as sympathetic, because fans are already predisposed to like him, because pretty much since the second season, he's been kind of the lead character in the show.
Yeah.
And something else to think about too, when you think about television in a larger context, besides just
Walking Dead.
Well,
No, you said Walking Dead, yeah.
That's exactly where I was going to go, was The Walking Dead. Is that Walking Dead used to be the most popular cable television show in terms of viewership, and it's been hemorrhaging viewers the last couple of seasons, largely because of pacing problems that viewers have had. That they say the show is too slow, that there's a lot of unnecessary scenes. So a lot of that impatience in television viewers probably came over to Game of Thrones. So they're not willing to take as much time to develop a story and characters as you can do with a novel.
See, the problem with The Walking Dead is like, how many times can you write a scene where he's like, oh, he's surrounded by zombies, what's going to happen? Next episode, oh, he got out. Great. On to the next.
But the reason, and I don't know, I could be off base on this, but I'm thinking they cut the Penny storyline because it shows Tyrion and the rest of us the serious, awful repercussions that happen from his actions.
Yeah.
I mean, he killed Tywin. Cersei wants his head and will pay for the head of any dwarf or reasonable-sized child.
Yeah.
And he does.
Yeah. It's so sad. Let's all laugh about Cersei. That's great. That's classic Cersei.
And that's how Penny's brother gets killed. To make him look like, to hand his head over, and the queen mistakes this rotting thing for Tyrion. And that's right in his face. You did this. It's your fault.
Well, she made a good point that you can't blame Tyrion for Cersei's, murderous, but he does feel guilty about it. In the books, we do, he sees that happening and he feels horrible about it because he does obviously have a conscience. So.
And that's kind of like saying, just because my husband walked in the kitchen and lit a cigarette, it's not my fault that the house blew up because I left the gas on the stove.
Eli?
So I don't think this is the same, but,
Oh, wait,
but I understand. I understand what you're trying to say. So in the back there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Maybe what they're doing in the show is they don't have enough time, first of all. But,
Yeah.
Maybe Tyrion's arc is turning. Maybe he is becoming darker at the end. Because they show him with Cersei alone.
And they cut that scene, and we don't see the end of the scene. Who knows what he said to Cersei? We were talking about that at the Lannister panel.
What happened there, and then he's got some kind of jealousy going on. Which we've all seen.
All right, well, let's talk about that. Do you think there's a chance that there's a secret alliance between Tyrion and Cersei at the end of season 7? Joanna Lannister?
Me? No,
Joanna
I don't
Lannister?
think that. Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't think
You're a
that
Lannister.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a secret alliance between Cersei and Tyrion. I think Cersei's playing everybody.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Well,
I don't think Cersei's pregnant.
I think
personally, but it's me.
Tyrion may have talked alliance with her, but I think he's playing her too. I think they're playing.
Yeah,
each
I
other,
think.
but
I
don't
don't
think
think that there's. I don't think they're working together.
Yeah, no, not really.
Eli, and then over in the corner, Eli.
Just going back to Penny, I just want us all to be honest. They didn't include Penny because Dan and Dave didn't read Feast for them.
Oh.
I'm glad I got that comment in.
Okay. Next.
He said they didn't. He said they didn't include Penny in the show because the writers didn't read Feast for Crows or Dance with Dragons.
Eli wins the comment of the day on that one.
They read the Cliff Notes.
Back there before I lose you.
Yeah, that's why I don't really feel like there's
Yeah.
an alliance
I don't-
between them.
Yeah, because mankind is at stake here. I don't think Tyrion was like, yeah, let you go ahead and keep your stuff home, Cersei. It's okay. I don't think Tyrion would ever go for that.
No.
No.
Well, who said that's the arrangement? Maybe there's a different arrangement. Maybe it has something to do with after, if you help us in the war, I'll help you secure your throne.
Or you help my.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other?
Since we don't know what exactly was talked about in that room, we can say it was a bluff, double bluff from both ends. So I'm gonna say that Tyrion is too smart to let her play him, but Cersei is also very smart to not let him play her as a fiddle. But there's gonna be a lot of things going on that I think they're gonna anticipate, but not understand when it's gonna happen.
Well, it's in the book and in the show that Cersei she always thinks she's smarter than she actually is, and as does I think Tywin as well. So.
And I think it's good to show that Tyrion in the final season with Jaime wasn't quite as smart as he thought he was either. When he thought, and Jaime learning from his own mistakes with what happened with Robb Stark, used that against him. And I love Tyrion's awareness. That's why I love Tyrion and Tyrion so much. He's with his brothers and sisters. And I think that's, if we're gonna not get what we got, and we've talked about Penn, we've talked about the dance and feast story that we didn't get in the show. I think the more we have him with Jaime or with Cersei, is the more we can get more of depthy. Is that a word? More deep Tyrion.
Any other comments or questions for him?
I don't know. We might get him and Jaime in the north.
Yeah, I do like the prospect.
I'm hoping. I'm an idealist. Hope.
Like at this point, I'd be heartbroken if Tyrion died in the books, but I honestly don't know if I would feel Tyrion's death in the show as much as numerous other characters have felt.
I would still be super sad if Tyrion.
I think I'd be the
died in
most sad if
show.
Tyrion dies
Yeah.
because they've lulled me into a sense of safety. For me personally, this is that I think that Tyrion's untouchable. I was talking about this in the Lannister panel, so I think Tyrion in my mind is untouchable. So if they actually killed him, I would be so shocked and so emotional.
It would be like it would be
crying.
like Ned Stark all over again.
It would be like Tommen all over again.
Which would make sense for them to do it.
It's like you see
Tommen
Tommen flying
all
like
over.
Tommen, no.
It's my hope that Tyrion and Sansa actually honor their marriage vows, and then Tyrion becomes the Lord Consort.
She does deserve Podrick. So I'm so with Sansa and Podrick. I ship that all the way.
I'm shipping Tyrion and Sansa too.
Aww.
But they really, and I mean they really mutually respect
That's
each other.
what I
appreciate
mean,
each
yeah.
other, and actually love each other. And
Yeah.
he would treat her like a queen. I'm sorry.
Potentially the Lord of Casterly Rock. She potentially.
Lady of Winterfell. And to go in the show, she does show for the first time, and I'm glad that they put this scene in. As much as I'm not in love with the Sansa Arya stuff in the season, I love that we got Sansa making reference to Tyrion's not like the other Lannisters. Like that she actually gets that, because the last time we see them interacting is just her leaving, and she still has a little bit of an avergence towards him, and she never quite, at least that we see, gets warm to him. Maybe her relationship with Shay helped a little bit, but I like how at the end of all of that, we actually get a line of that in season 7 with her making reference to that. I think that's important, and maybe could be foreshadowing to future alliances between the two of them.
I think it's just that she sees that he is not as evil as
Yeah.
Cersei and nobody could be. So I think it's less what you're saying and more like
I think it's less what I'm saying too, but I'm hoping for the best. He's the least bad Lannister. It's
Well, of all the men who have taken advantage of her, both in the books and in the show, he's the one who did it.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
the
he's
he
the
was the nicest
one
to
who
her.
showed restraint.
just refrain to mess with her mind to like manipulate her later. I mean, I'm sure she's like counting all the way.
right. She has
Right.
Littlefinger programming her,
Yeah.
or had Littlefinger programming her. It's no doubt that her mind might have gone there, at least at the beginning, at least especially when she was there, that she may think, yeah, maybe it was a long game, but he's okay.
But whatever somebody does or does not do, there was a reason for that. So she's got a little abacus counting. It up, you know,
Very, very, very fair point.
She really knows who he is.
Oh, okay, good point.
As far as Sansa and Tyrion goes, I thought that was so interesting that when she was younger, she was so obsessed with chivalry, you know, and then everyone in her mind who looked the part ended up being not chivalrous towards her. And then the one person who she just thought was disgusting, you know, ended up being
being the best to her when it really comes down to it.
Well, that's a theme that George has, because the Hound was also.
The Hound's the other one, yeah.
He was chivalrous, and he does it on purpose, and I think that's a reference back to Tolkien as well, because I think it's, I don't know who says it, but in Tolkien, but he's like, they may look fair, but they feel foul.
Yeah, they're talking about Aragorn.
And it's that
That's
same,
Aragorn,
yeah, and it's that same concept, that same motif.
Are you afraid of me, girl? No. That's what it said. It was like, are you afraid of me?
Yeah.
But he is the most he's the most. You were saying he's probably the less evil of all the Lannisters, but in the view of the realm, he is like the worst.
Yeah.
Of the common people and
The lecherous imp.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, Tywin is a propaganda machine, so when Tywin wants people to think a certain thing about Tyrion, that he's a lecherous imp and all of that.
He was a convenient political target, was he not? Right?
Kingslayer.
Right. The other, and that's why we see that we see it now, right? So that's.
Can I ask the panel members to tell us what you think is going to happen to Tyrion at the end, and does he get a dragon?
Let's start.
No to the dragon. I know a lot of people really like this one. I am on that boat of it deballs the relationship between Tyrion and Tywin. So I hope he doesn't get a dragon. I hope Jon gets that dragon, and I think he will get the dragon.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's gonna. If Tyrion can be a dragon rider, I don't think it necessarily means that he's a secret Targaryen. He did have that neat little scene in season 6 where he has like a sort of a connection with the dragons that like they're feel comfortable around him.
You saying that pisses me off about another thing that they kind of took out of Tyrion's character on the show, that his knowledge, his book knowledge about dragons, and the fact I don't think they ever quite showed that. And I would love if Tyrion, and it also would be a good opportunity to show how intelligent dragons are, that the dragon didn't view Tyrion as a threat because he also understands how to approach it, or understands whatever. However you can reason with a dragon, Tyrion knows how to train his dragon. Sorry, that joke had to be made. That was low-hanging fruit. I had to grab it.
At least touch one without getting burnt.
Yeah, at least touch it. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm hopeful on the dragon, but I think he'll end up as sort of Lord of Casterly Rock, or he might be dead. I don't know. I'm not qualified to comment.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get a dragon. I would love for him to, but I don't think he's going to. And I don't know if he'll live to the end. I hope that he does. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm positive he's going to get a dragon, and I'll tell you which dragon, too. No, I'll bet $20 right now he's going to get a dragon, and I think it's going to be Rhaegal. I think it's the green dragon. It's the dragon that George describes as, like, the autumn dragon. It's kind of like, there's this line in the books where he says, like, it's the bronze, it's Rhaegal, he's the green and bronze. So he's like, he describes it as, like, the bronze of autumn or something, and then you have the Lannisters so much connected to autumn where their power is, they have reached a peak and then they're waning again. I think, yeah, he has the green eye. And there's that line that George has at the very beginning that Tyrion Lannister stood as tall as a king. And then you have Rhaegal, the play on words there of kingly, something like that. And then you also have, like, if you think about the people that are surrounding Daenerys, you have Daenerys, Jon, and Tyrion. And so with Jon, you have the warrior. You have this mighty warrior. So that's the kind of like, I think that's a parallel to Visenya. In the books, there's a deliberate parallel between Daenerys and Aegon the Conqueror. And so with Tyrion, you're left with the other wife of Aegon the Conqueror, to kind of parallel to Rhaenys. So Rhaenys was the wise counselor, and Tyrion is the wise counselor. It's this, the show isn't, maybe we can debate on how well the show has been handling that, but that's who Tyrion is. So that's why I'm positive he's getting a dragon, and I'm positive that it's going to be Rhaegal. And
You think show and book he's going to get a dragon, or just in the books he'll get the dragon?
Do you honestly think that the show is going to pass up like the
visual?
No, the visual of like Jon and Dany riding together on Drogon, like they'll be like together, like on it, like
riding
these.
Yeah,
like literally. No, I think that Jon and Dany ride together on Drogon, and that's why they got rid of the other dragon. And so
I mean, they're gonna make love on the back of the dragon to the.
They could.
Which one is Bran gonna warg into? Fuck.
It's not. That's not happening.
He warg into the ice dragon.
That corner there.
That gentleman in the back, was that who you're pointing at?
I agree.
If you do think that Tyrion is going to ride Rhaegal, do you buy into the Dance of the Dragons 2.0 with the black and green dragon combating against each other? Or do you think Tyrion might end up being against Dany?
Oh, so do you mean like would Tyrion and Dany go to war against each other?
Like with Tyrion riding the green dragon representing the greens and Dany riding the black dragon representing the blacks, and have a Dance of the Dragons 2.0?
I don't believe in the theory of the Dance of the Dragons 2.0. I do believe that it's possible that Tyrion could in some way be antagonistic to something that Dany's doing, but I don't think it's like I'm going to go to war with you to go try and take the throne and we're going to fight over this throne. I think that it could be Tyrion, like as the name of this panel is Tyrion the Grey. I do think that there's a lot of play left in what Tyrion might be doing, but I don't think it's something as easy as the Dance of the Dragons 2.0.
Yeah, I agree with Joanna, basically. The same reasons.
Front row?
Yeah, this is good.
Kind of going back to what you mentioned about Tywin's propaganda machine. He basically stole the credit for the Battle of Blackwater from his son, and we've seen that the Mummers have basically made, at Cersei's behest, have made Tyrion out to be this monster. How do you think Tyrion will be remembered in the history of Westeros 100 or 1,000 years after the final battle with the Night's King?
I don't think he will be. I think isn't there a scene with him and Varys talking where they're talking about how, no one talks about what's going on. No one tells stories of spiders or something like that, where they talk about how no one's going to mention their part to play in all this. So I think what history books will say about Tyrion is nothing.
So not even just the bad stuff that's put up.
Personally, I think that will all just fade with time when a new society or new something forms from what gets broken down at the end.
I think that's the point, though, that Tyrion has to do this without getting it remembered in the history books, because it's the point with Tywin Lannister was we need to make a dynasty that's going to last 1,000 years. We need to make a name for ourselves. That was what was in season 1. And then Tyrion, he wants to emulate Tywin. He wants to be Tywin 2.0, kind of almost as much as Cersei wants to be Tywin 2.0. But the point of the story is you don't You're not saving the world to make a name for yourself. You're saving the world because you care about people, and that's, I think, where Tyrion needs to get to be.
I wanted to posit kind of an alternate explanation for Tyrion the Dragon. That I personally think it's a much simpler explanation that Rhaegal is named after Rhaegar, and Rhaegar's Jon's father. So Jon ends up riding that dragon, and then maybe Tyrion is promised Viserion. And I just think that the parallel of Meraxes being killed during the conquest, one of the dragons has to die to bring that full circle, and that maybe Tyrion is promised Viserion, and then
loses
right
it.
up until the point it's been his lifelong dream to get this dragon, and then it's just that.
Then suddenly a javelin flies and goes whoa, 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 hangs in the sky, pauses, and stabs him.
That's sweetly tragic that he's about to get the dragon, and then it's killed.
Yeah.
Because let's torture the guy some more, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, because he can't get anything nice. Poor Tyrion. Any last questions as we're running out of time?
Do you think there's any chance he would get reunited with Tysha at some point? I mean, there's not a lot of time left, but any chance?
No.
Tysha's so damaged. I don't think she's capable of love anymore.
Yeah, I don't see a girl. I don't see a girl coming back from that. I just don't. No.
Well, I personally
Where do
think
whores go?
Tasha's dead in a shallow grave near Casterly Rock. So
That's where apparently that's where horse go. They get buried. Anyone, I guess, have one last question? Do we have time?
No, I think we can.
Can I end it with my favorite Tyrion Grey moment?
Yes.
Okay, so we've been talking about so many big things, but there's this one small moment that's in A Storm of Swords when Tyrion it's after the battle and they're trying to clean up the city after the Battle of Blackwater and everything. And Tyrion's going along and he sees these kids playing on the trebuchet. He sees the kids playing on the trebuchet, and there's this moment when he's like, hey, we need to get these kids off the trebuchet. They're going to hurt themselves. And then they start flinging all the muck and everything at him, and he's like, it's basically like, I don't give a fuck if they're going to be on that trebuchet at all. And so it's like, it's such a gray moment. It's such a duality for Tyrion. Like, he cares, but then he's also caring. He can't really decide which path he's going to go down. It's that duality. And even, so we see that so much even in A Dance with Dragons, there's that moment when he has the dream where he has two heads. The head where he has where one head is laughing insanely and one head is weeping. So it's like that gray moment as well. George plays with this so much, and it's like, I don't know. We could probably go on for hours about talking about Tyrion the Grey, but those are just two of my favorite things. So I thought we could maybe end with that, or if you guys have a favorite that you wanted to share, just a small one or something.
That's a similar one. I think that's a good place to kind of finish things off on, because I think it's a perfect example of that grayness that he's constantly struggling with. You could do the angel devil on his shoulders, but it's almost like Tywin and a little slight, and then Tyrion wanting to be a good person outside that. He wants to. I agree with that. Someone said that earlier. He wants to be Tywin as much as Cersei does, but he wants to be a better Tywin. I think Cersei doesn't necessarily think about it like that. I think she thinks, I'm as good as Tywin. And I think Tyrion tends to think, I can be a better person than Tywin with his same level of intelligence and tactics and control. And it's been sad at times to watch Tyrion constantly be Charlie Brown to Lucy's ball of life and go there and try to kick the ball. She's like, again, Charlie Brown, not this time. And I hope Tyrion gets a happy ending personally.
All right, thank you all for coming out.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks for coming to Con of Thrones. It's been a really great weekend. Thank you so much.
You guys have really helped make the weekend great, so thank you. Everybody, have a round of applause for you guys.